So, who got your money? Don't worry, they'll give it back. They didn't want to tell you who got the money in the first place. The Treasury Secretary said they wouldn't have transparency, so don't expect it. They were supposed to be for small businesses, helping out the little person, helping out Main Street. Well, is it possible that this isn't actually true? What about the TARP bailout? You remember that one? A historically large amount chosen literally out of thin air. Money handed in every direction. No details unless unveiled through a Freedom of Information Act request and months of waiting. What a joke! You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to get into who's got your money. Of course, it's just a loan. Of course, they've got to pay it back. But all of the details here that I'm going to show you and that will be unveiled in the coming days, in the coming months, are going to give us some insight as to what's happening beneath this system. Because if you look at the stock ticker and you see the market cap and the 200-day moving average, you're not getting insight as to what's going on in this system. And unfortunately, so many people are stuck there because all they're worried about is their bottom line. How much money can I make today day trading? And that's fine for the day traders. But for some people, they just want to know what's happening in the system. They just want to understand the truth because that knowledge gives them a sense that they are able to act accordingly, that they are going to have the strength to do this or that. Without that knowledge, without that information, they're going in blind and they don't like that. And I respect everybody who spends time learning. It is so important. Doesn't matter what topic we're looking at, having that knowledge gives you so much. Today, I'm going to cover this issue related to the small business loans. There are many articles that I will show you, and the information tends to overlap, of course, because they're looking at the same data. So bear with me as I move through, but I will give you the most important things that we have right now as of this recording. The first one I want to start with is directly from the source itself. If you've been on the Money GPS before, you know that I always bring you the actual source and I always put it in the sources section in the description of the video. So you can see that down below if you want to check it out. This happens to be from the US Department of the Treasury, treasury.gov website. It is broken down by state. So you can see all of this information here. You can click in. It makes you log in. If you're interested, you definitely can do that. I will go through the different articles that I've brought up because they highlight the ones that are most interesting. But if you want to see the data directly from the source with no filter on it, this is where you've got to go. So I thought I would start with this one because it's a little bit humorous. Kanye West, the Girl Scouts, hedge funds all got PPP loans. And there, of course, is always going to be abuse. There's always going to be problems with this type of program that they set up, just like we had with the bailouts back during the financial crisis. It tends to be a mess. It's very difficult to control. They shouldn't even be doing something like this in the first place because there's no possible way that they can maintain it and they could distribute it. But they do so anyway, and we know there's much more going on here than meets the eye. I wanted to clarify the fact that they specifically released this list of the businesses that have borrowed $150,000 or more. So it's not everybody, and this basically gives a little bit of privacy to those real small businesses. I could understand that. I could see how that works. I really wonder how many didn't end up on this list, maybe accidentally. Among the notable recipients are, right here you can see part of the Kushner family getting some money. Here the Transportation Secretary's family business got some. Restaurant chains P.F. Chang's and Chopped received aid of between $5 million and $10 million. TGI Fridays, which is backed by private equity firm Tri-Artisan Capital Advisors, received at least $5 million. The Archdiocese of New York got a loan valued between $5 million and $10 million. And the others around the US received assistance valued more than $2 million. The the Ayn Rand Institute. They were approved as well. So it's not just one category here. It's not just one type of institution. We're seeing it all over the map, that's for sure. But to call these small businesses, that is straight up a lie. There was no restriction on them. What is it, the honor system? If somebody is going to give you a loan and you're one of these big businesses, they're going to give you money and it's going to be really cheap and in certain cases forgivable, of course they're going to take it. They've got the accountants, they've got the people that can work the numbers to make sure that it can go through and they can benefit from it more than the small business knows what to do at this point. They can't even weather the storm, these small businesses. They're not going to be able to be without revenue for a period of time. What's a loan going to do? If you're one of these big establishments, you got your workers, they're at home, they're able to log in, no problem. They keep everything moving. That's a whole different story for them. But that small business down the street who hasn't been operating for several months, and then when they open, they're not necessarily going to even have people walking in through the door. A loan just doesn't do anything for them. Numerous news organizations received PPP loans. Forbes got at least $5 million. The Washington Times got $1 million. Washingtonian, Daily Caller News Foundation, American Prospect. Lots of money all throughout here. Political organizations also received loans, and it goes on and on. So this is just interesting because we are seeing it all over the spectrum, and now perhaps we'll see some of these actually being called out. It will be interesting. 40 largest PPP loans disclosed by public companies. So on the left-hand side, you could see the ticker and the company name, and then we have the market cap further along there, and you could see the loan amounts and everything else to do with these PPP loans. I think it's interesting because these are quite large establishments. It's not as if they're small businesses as far as I'm concerned. Just look at this extreme example here, where you can see, if I pull this up, looking at the second one in the list, and employees, 10,000. 10,000 employees classifying as a small business. Wait a second. If I pull out my calculator, maybe I can carry the 1, carry the y, subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, and an x, y, and z, and no, not a small business. Even the first one on the list, we got 4,200 there. Go further down, we've got 6,000 here. How they were able to qualify for this doesn't make sense to me. There's something strange going on, to say the least. This is from the AP. I thought it was interesting. The Treasury Department's Payroll Protection Program approved applicants from a broad swath of industries, some that were less directly impacted by the crisis of 2020, such as manufacturing and construction, received a greater proportion of the loans than the hard-hit restaurant and hotel industries. Many law firms and private equity companies also obtained loans. So I think that's interesting. I think that is worth a note right here. Businesses owned by politicians also borrow from the program, including a minor league baseball team owned by the family of the governor of Ohio. A large franchisee of Wendy's, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut restaurants also got in on that. There are others in here which we'll talk about in just a second. I just think it's interesting because you look at all of this information as it's been piling up, and it is really strange. Think about it. They initially said, we don't have to be transparent. We never said we were going to be transparent. We are not going to give out the names. And as soon as they do something in the shadows, we know there's a problem because goodness is done in the light. If you're doing something nefarious, illicit, you want to do it in the dark. So isn't it interesting that now finally, after all of this pressure has been mounting, okay, we'll release the names. To me, it's just really stinking real bad. This article here also talks about the tech startups that took government payroll loans. So we've got all over the place here. I didn't really recognize any of the names, maybe one in there, but it is just interesting to see that you really shouldn't be qualifying for this, and yet it happens in so many cases. If you see any in here in this list that are interesting, by the way, not just this one for the tech startups, but in the others that I've shown you, please list them in the comments below. Let's get that conversation going because I may have missed something. And it is important to note this here. We can discuss it, and then we'll probably be referencing this for the coming months. This article here was also interesting out of the Wall Street Journal. Small business loans helped the well-heeled and connected to. That's basically what I was trying to say, that we can see that there are so many intricacies going on behind the system. And if we're looking at 200-day moving averages and PE ratios, we're never going to pick that up. But when you start to see how the money flows, who gets all of it, where are the connections, it starts to make a lot of sense. But this is something that most people, they can't figure out. But you and I, if you're here, this part of the video, I know you want to know the truth. There are all of these dots that need to be connected. But if you don't, you see three individual instances, pieces of information, data points, and so on. But when you connect these together, wait a second, things start to make a lot of sense. Treasury reveals 700,000 of the companies and nonprofits who got the PPP bailout, with Kanye West's Yeezy company, Khloe Kardashian's denim brand. And those two right there I thought were the funniest because they're so prominent in the news. They're held up to such a high standard in the celebrity world, and yet they took the loan. So what does that mean? Did they need the money? Is the business hurting? Is something wrong here? Or is it seen as free money? Okay, now check this out. 13 million gig workers getting unemployment benefits, 41% of the total. We've got a serious issue here going on because a large number of people and a growing number of people are part of these gig workers. You could see the Amazon delivery drivers, Uber Eats delivery, all of these different individuals that have been making a living, in some cases not able to make a living, but still doing it anyway, working 2 and 3 of these just to make ends meet. And now, for one reason or another, they're hurting. So there is more in the article here. I don't have time to get into it all, but I wanted to show this because you can see who is directly impacted by what we are seeing today. It is very important to look at the connections in between this and what we are seeing with the unemployment data. I've shown this chart before, and it basically just shows you the difference between Wall Street and Main Street. Wall Street being the extreme of the NASDAQ, hitting a new high, of course, every single day practically. And the red line is the continuing jobless claims. We've got serious problems right now with Main Street, the real Main Street. There is no V-shaped recovery in sight. Just look at Amazon stock hitting a record high. Nobody even knows why anymore. Doesn't even matter. They could report the worst earnings ever and it would not matter to the stock because it's always going to go up. They won't acknowledge what's really happening to the currency. They won't acknowledge what's going on with the markets and the Federal Reserve's intervention. But who cares? Multiply 7 shares of Amazon times 3,000 and my goodness, we're on our way to 1 million. Tesla versus the mega caps, you can see that it has essentially formed the hockey stick pattern straight up to the sky. Tesla is bigger than so many companies. In a very short period of time, it will surpass all of these in the list. Bank of America, Intel, Netflix, Home Depot, Walt Disney. Just give it maybe 2 days or so, it'll be surpassing Home Depot and will grow and grow and grow. As far as I'm aware, it is the most valuable, apparently the most valuable car company today, producing 4% of the vehicles that Toyota does, and their market cap is exceeding it. It is a topsy-turvy world. Things are messed up, but welcome to 2020. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you are supporting me. I want to thank you for that. By clicking one button on your screen, you support this channel. Thank you very much. If you want to check me out, Instagram, Twitter, you can do so every single day. New stuff, the Money GPS. Do you want to learn how to sell stuff online? I'm talking about e-commerce, understanding every bit of it and not have to pay a dime to learn it. The AmazonGPS.com. My 2 books will explain everything you need to know about the financial system. They get into the depths, but they don't use confusing language. They make it easy to understand. Check them out at the link in the description. If you want the audiobook, themoneygps.com. Wait a second, don't go anywhere. You've got to see this video. It's really good. It's got a lot of data in it. Definitely check it out. Click on it. I will see you there.